I'm such a big overthinker, in fact, that I find a way to overthink getting my period. What if I didn't actually get my period? What do I say then? Oh my God, what do I do?
The TMI Project Story Hour presents the Period Power Stories podcast, where we tackle taboos about periods one story at a time. All storytellers are members of the Kingston High School Period Power Club, a group dedicated to destigmatizing menstruation, raising awareness of period poverty, and inspiring action to ensure free menstrual products for all students. In 2023, club members took a 10-session TMI Project True Storytelling workshop and wrote about their own experiences with periods. Now, we're sharing these stories to continue the conversation.
The views shared in this podcast are solely those of the subject and don't reflect the beliefs or opinions of TMI Project. This podcast is for entertainment and informational purposes only and is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment.
Birds and the Bees. Take one.
Hi, I'm Makayla again, and I'm your host for today's episode of TMI Project Story Hour presents Period Power Stories. Today we're talking about firsts, those unforgettable, sometimes awkward, often empowering moments when we got our first period. Whether it came with a flood of questions, confusion, or even a little bit of pride, each of us has a unique story. Today we have a fellow Period Power Club member. Welcome, Siobhan. Okay, so I'd like to ask you some questions. So, what are your pronouns? How are you connected to the club? And what is one thing the audience can't tell by looking at you?
My pronouns are she, her. I'm the treasurer of the club, and one thing you can tell by looking at me is that I love dogs.
And one thing you can't tell by looking at me is that I like cats. Before we hear Siobhan's story, I'd like to ask you a question. Can you tell us more about what inspired you to join the club, and what has it been like working to destigmatize menstruation in your school?
So I guess one of the leading reasons I joined the club was my connection with Tina. So she is my stepmom, so I guess that kind of motivated me to join the club, but I also loved what the club was doing and I wanted to help spread the awareness.
Great. So we're going to segue into our story. Everyone remembers their first period, the emotions, the confusion, maybe a little fear. Depending on how well educated you were, you're probably thinking, what's happening with my body? The experience for Siobhan was different because she had more education from her family. She grew up in a family where it wasn't really taboo. She was even excited to get her first period. But when she went into the real world, things changed. Here's Siobhan.
I'm in 7th grade when I get my period for the first time. I go through the entire school day without knowing it started. I get cramps, but ignore them because I think it's just a stomach ache. I ignore the feeling on my bus ride home while waiting for my sister at the bus stop and the walk home. When I finally get to my house, I go to the bathroom for the first time all day. I look down and see it. The blood is brown and there are little clumps. When I wipe, the toilet paper is covered in the same brown stuff. I remember my sisters telling me that when I do get my period, the blood will most likely be brown. Deep down, I know it's my period. But here's the problem. I'm a big overthinker. I reread my texts a million times before I send them, and I spend hours color coordinating what I'm going to wear to school. I'm such a big overthinker, in fact, that I find a way to overthink getting my period. What if I didn't actually get my period? What do I say then? Oh my God, what do I do? I convinced myself that I didn't actually start my period and that I have somehow shit my pants. I'm so afraid my sisters will make fun of me, I don't tell them. I don't even change my underwear. Panicking, I make a deal with myself. Okay, Siobhan, if the brown stuff is there again tomorrow, I'll tell one of my sisters. Sure enough, I wake up the next day and the blood is still there. So I follow through with my plan and tell one of my sisters. To my dismay, my younger sister runs to tell my older sister that I got my period. I am so mad at her. But why? Why am I mad at her when we talk about periods all the time and they both know I was excited to get mine? I'm young when we start talking about it, around 7 or 8 years old. I find a book in my sister's room called It's Perfectly Normal. In the book, a bird and a bee offer their thoughts and comments as a narrator explains the human body and the changes it goes through as you get older. The bee character acts grossed out and hates learning about periods, sex, and bodily anatomy. But as the story goes on, the bee's opinions start to change. The bird helps the bee to realize that learning about our bodies isn't gross, it's, just like the book says, perfectly normal. With the help of these characters, I learned so much about my own body and what it goes through during puberty, as well as what a man's body goes through. Unlike the bee character, none of the stuff in the book grosses me out. That's because there's never any stigma in my family surrounding periods. My 2 older sisters aren't afraid to talk openly about their periods, complaining to me when they get it. I ask them tons of questions. They even draw me diagrams, pointing out different parts of the uterus, explaining what they do. They even show me what happens when a tampon is put in water. My dad is never grossed out or embarrassed about period products. He happily picks up pads for my sisters when he runs to the store, even if he gets a little confused and needs help picking them out the right ones. I'm fascinated by it all. One time, I even asked my mom if I could put on a pad for practice. But really, I just want to know what it feels like. I'm excited to get my period, and I'm convinced I'll get it soon. And yet, despite everything I'm taught by my family, when I finally do get my period in 7th grade, why am I completely unprepared? Thinking back on it, I think it's because even though periods aren't taboo in my household and I'm educated on the topic, society has made it hard to hold on to what my family has taught me. Like in 4th grade. My teacher tells my class that they are separating the boys and the girls so that we could all watch a video about our bodies. In our video, people talk about how our bodies change and that everyone is different. At one point in the movie, a cartoon of the female body appears. It's nothing like the detailed, informative drawings in It's Perfectly Normal. Instead, it's a strange blue figure that looks more like a silhouette of a woman than a realistic figure. At that point in the movie, I turn around and see another girl in my class looking absolutely disgusted by it. She's crazy, I think. I mean, how can someone be so disgusted by something so normal? As the video goes on, I begin to wonder what it's going to be like when we finally get to the part about periods. Except, that part never comes. The video stops working. Instead, the school nurse talks to us very briefly about periods and shows us, very poorly, how to put on a pad. Then, I kid you not, the nurse tells us not to use tampons. Even at 9 years old, I was raging on the inside. I mean, what? I think about how this type of misinformation could cause someone who could really benefit from using tampons to never use them. I am so thankful for all the work my family put into preparing me for my period, even if I still got embarrassed when I got it. Now that I'm a part of the Period Power Club, I'm reminded why it's so important to end stigma and shame around periods. I have the ability to help other women feel okay about getting their periods. Just like the bird and the bee taught me, I hope by telling my story, I can let others know periods are perfectly normal.
Thank you, Siobhan. It's really inspiring to see you being so open about your experience, and also it's really nice to hear families who really um are open enough to talk about those things with their kids. So you mentioned feeling unprepared, even though you had all of this great knowledge from your family. Can you talk more about the moment that you got your period and how society's lack of open conversations affected that experience?
So, the moment I got my period, I guess it was a little scary. I knew what was happening deep down, but I didn't really accept it, I guess. I didn't want to accept it. So, it was kind of a scary moment. I didn't know what to do. So I waited to tell anyone about what was happening. And I guess part of that was because of society. Society has always taught us to keep quiet about our periods and not really tell anyone. So I guess that could have been a factor of to why I didn't share what was happening to me immediately.
Yeah. And it's It really shows how, like, as much education you can be getting from your family, you not having that same experience with society and like the general public being comfortable, especially at school. Like I think growing up, even in my experience, growing up as a young girl who is waiting to get her period, and they're like, it's like you don't know what's gonna happen, and you're kind of scared because it's like I'm gonna bleed through my vagina soon. But then it's like all of your friends start to tell you that, oh, I got my period, or oh, I'm on my period, or oh, I'm having these really bad cramps. And in my experience, I'm like, when am I going to get it? Like, because, this whole thing signifies you almost being a woman. And it really, I think, almost takes away from that experience when you're not told that, hey, maybe you're not going to get your period at this exact age, or it's going to be different for everyone. And, like pain is going to be different, blood flow is going to be different. And getting that can really like help a young person with like just feeling like their body and they themselves are normal. So, for the next question, in your story, you share that your mom made sure you were prepared for your first period. What kind of preparation do you think was most helpful when it comes to getting it?
I guess what was really helpful was being told like what was going to happen.
Hmm.
I remember being taught that my blood was most likely going to be brown. So that was helpful to me. And just learning how it happens and why it happens was at least I found it super interesting. Just
Yeah.
like knowing like how all of this is happening. So that was really what was helpful for me.
Yeah, I feel like the world kind of teaches you, especially media, teaches you that like blood is this disgusting thing that you like never want to see in your life, which is valid because usually blood isn't a sign of anything good. Like if you're bleeding, you happen to cut yourself, that's not really great. But that like getting blood from your vagina at a certain age is normal and healthy. And sometimes it's not healthy if you're getting too much, you're experiencing too much pain. So that's great. Thank you. And in your experience, have you noticed any differences in how menstruation is discussed among groups of people like your family and school and then like general society with that?
So my family was definitely more open about our periods. We didn't really go out of our way to discuss our periods, but it wasn't like we were scared to talk about it or we
Yeah.
weren't allowed to. But like going to school and stuff, the situation was definitely a lot different. Remember, being at school, like kids were like scared to talk about the periods, like kept it super quiet, and it was kind of like a gross thing.
No, I get what you mean. It's like it's almost like, and I think even high schoolers still
Yeah.
experience this, like being scared to open your pad or open your tampon or even pee. Like literally, like the noise of peeing is scary because you don't want people to know that you're peeing in a bathroom like where you're supposed to do that. So it's really crazy actually. Growing up and realizing like it's almost like not many things change, but as an adult, you just like have to almost
Yeah.
figure it out.
I remember one of my experiences from school. This was in seventh grade, actually. It was way before I even got my period. But I remember it was me and two of my guy friends. We were talking. And I remember being upset about something that we were talking about. I guess I was just being like passionate or something.
Yeah.
And one of my friends was like, "Oh my God, why are you so mad? Are you on your period or something?"
Yeah.
And to me, that was just so shocking. I was like,
Mhm.
are we not, like, am I not allowed to feel mad when I'm not on my period?
Yeah, and I think it almost like when people say that, it almost minimizes like the fact that also pain when you have your period is very bad. And it's valid to not necessarily be mad all the time, but to express that, hey, I'm not comfortable because I'm in pain. And a lot of people have very debilitating pain, but it's like I think that's also definitely like a way of being sexist almost because it's like you're reserving anger or whatever for men and not for women, and like women are only expected to be sad, like, oh, if you're on your period, like you should only be crying, and like I don't know, like what like the stereotypical breakup of like eating ice cream and stuff rather than like being frustrated, which is a valid response. Now we have a special guest and he's your father. Welcome, Mr. Burch. Hi, Mr. Burch.
Hi, Makayla.
Hi. Okay, to get us started, can I get the story about how you got involved in Period Power Club?
My partner, Tina Diurna, learned that it was New York State law to provide period products in all public restrooms in state buildings, and we did not do that. And it was a passionate cause for her and students like you. We're bringing that complaint to the administration, and next thing you know, we have a club forming. And as a father of 4 daughters and a verified feminist, I felt it was an
Verified.
important issue, and I wanted to lend my support, knowing that when a cis white male of middle age tends to lend their support to things, there's a lot of power there, and so I wanted to use my privilege for good. So I was definitely behind it 100%.
Great. Thank you. So you also saw Siobhan's performance.
I did.
What was your reaction to it, and how do you feel about her telling her story?
I was amazingly proud of her. She was eloquent and passionate. She had it blew me away. Really did, and I was very I still get kind of goosebumps when I think about how she got up on that stage in front of all those people and delivered.
Yeah, definitely. And Siobhan, what do you think about having your dad watch you do that?
It was definitely a little awkward for me. Whenever like a parental figure is watching you do something, it definitely becomes more awkward.
There,
But it,
yeah.
it was also definitely kind of like nice having him there supporting me. So it was a fun experience.
Can you fill us in a little bit on what it was like growing up raising girls and becoming an impromptu period expert? What were some of the lessons you taught Siobhan growing up?
So I can't recall a specific lesson where I sat down with Siobhan and discussed menstruation, but it was often family conversations that came up organically around the table. My wife would explain things, or sometimes I would. And then Siobhan, being the third of 4 daughters, her oldest sister, Laurel, would often be the point person. They're the oldest. They're experienced all these things, and often the younger siblings would go to Laurel for things that maybe they want to go to their parents about. So
there was still a sense
it was
of
definitely it was an
yeah.
open conversation, and it was normalized in family culture.
And finally, for both of you, what's one thing you want to make sure all menstruators know?
It's normal. It's natural. I hope we get to a point where they are supported in it, not made to feel disgusting or undesirable because of it.
Yeah.
I know as a classroom teacher, I've seen a big shift in culture the last couple of years. I have a supply of products in my room, and I've had numerous menstruators this year come to me and just, oh, do you have products? And I've held it up, and they were like, pick whether they want a tampon or a pad. Like it was no big deal.
Yeah.
And that to me was special. It's like, oh, okay, this is normal. And they were comfortable talking to me about it. And, oh, I need more tampons. And I would, let Period Power know I need a refill.
I definitely agree with what my dad said. I guess some advice I would have for anyone who's menstruating: when you first get your period, this definitely would have been helpful for me, but just like taking a few deep breaths, calming down, relaxing a little, trying to clear your mind is definitely helpful, because it's a stressful experience, and there's a lot going through your mind. Sometimes you just need to take a deep breath and
Definitely.
calm down a little bit.
The advice that I would give is that you should be open about period products that you can use. There's a variety of them. Not every, pad is going to work for you. Not every tampon is going to work for you. So be open to using different things and finding out what works best for you. And I think with that, that's all for our episode. Thank you so much, Siobhan and Mr. Burch, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
That will be it. Bye. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the TMI Project Story Hour presents the Period Power Stories podcast.
If you like what we're doing, please subscribe, rate, and leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts. It really helps.
TMI Project is available to offer true storytelling workshops and performances for your school and workplace.
To learn more or to support our work, you can find the details at tmiproject.org.
This episode was produced in partnership with HUDSY and Kingston High School's Period Power Club.
It was written and produced by Hayley Downs, Raine Grayson, and Pfeil. All episodes are shot and edited by HUDSY.
Special thanks to our partners for their generous support of this work: the Hudson Valley Foundation for Youth, the Rowley Foundation Fund for Women and Children, and the Stavros Niarchos Foundation. We couldn't do it without you.